Hey everybody, this is On Screen, Off Screen, show where we like to talk about our weekly media intake and discuss how it impacts our lives, what's going on. Con, looks like you got some news for us. Why don't you go ahead and get started with that?
First, I love Joe Abercrombie. He writes great books. They call him Lord Grimdark. His books are they're fantasy, but they're super dark. He'll write a war book, and the entire book is on war, and it can last for 3 days, and it is gruesome. But James Cameron just bought rights to his new book, and I am super excited. He's somebody who hasn't gotten an adaptation yet, and I think it would be really cool. I haven't read this book yet, but it's a little bit more fantasy epic than the stuff that he's done before, and James Cameron could do a good job.
If
I
it
wouldn't,
actually gets made.
if it actually gets made. It is like we don't know, but he bought rights to do it.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of the book series, and he'd do a good job. I think he would do a good job. I hope he does.
Cool.
Matt Dinneman did something that I also thought was really cool. He has been an artist for a really long time, and he's done Etsy work, and he was struggling for a very long time. Dungeon Crawler Carl was basically his last book attempt before he's like, yeah, I can't really do this and move on. So, because he's getting so much success, he wanted to protect artists from any of the backlash that he's gotten. So he's literally made a post and he said, if you're an Etsy artist and you want to do my work, let me know. And when bigger studios start getting involved and they start making merchandise for me, I'm going to make sure they don't bug you. You just need to let me know. There's no strings attached. You don't have to pay me any money. You create what you want to create. I want to protect you. And I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah,
It's cool
that
that he
is
came
super
from that.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool that it came from that world and he decided he wanted to help the community out. Like I love that.
Yeah, and it would be really easy for him to say, like, and I want 10%.
Easy, super easy.
Yeah.
Even just a percentage. But he's just like, nah, I just want to protect you. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming along with my journey. Thanks for liking my books. I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
That is very cool.
and then there was a guy we did an episode last week, and Dono I think is how you say his name. He I was talking about how I don't think anyone's going to be allowed to do these crazy stunts again after Mission Impossible, and he brought up Jackie Chan, and like I get it. If Jackie Chan really wanted to go run down a skyscraper again, would they probably let him do it? Yeah, there'd be a lot of people who'd be like, dude, you're 77. Are you sure? But they probably let him. The thing is, Jackie Chan doesn't want to do this stuff anymore, obviously. He had a movie a couple of years ago. It's called The Foreigner. It's actually really good. And he does some great martial arts in the movie, but he doesn't do any of these crazy stunts. He's just old. And I still think that after Tom Cruise decides that he's done, which maybe is not this movie, maybe he does some more crazy stuff, there's no one else that has the pull to be able to get past the bureaucratic nonsense. And if you want to see crazy shit happen, you're going to have to go to things like Red Bull or some dude that just decides to do it online. I don't think you're going to have Hollywood bureaucracy allowing people to do some of the crazy crap that he does. And I don't think Jackie Chan is going to choose to do anything like he did when he was younger ever again.
What bureaucracy?
HR organizations that want everything to be all safety, which is not a problem. Like I get safety, but there's a lot of liabilities to doing this kind of crazy stuff. And unless you have an established, unless you one pay the money to do it yourself, which could be a possibility. Two, you have the clout to be able to push it through. Or three, you're in a Mission Impossible movie. You're probably not doing this.
I honestly think that there's a lot less bureaucracy than you think, right?
Okay.
So I think just takes somebody wanting to do it and a safety team who can figure out how to do it safely. I think that's all it takes. Because,
But
like,
so I would be interested in looking into this a little bit more because like he almost died in Mission Impossible. I think it's Ghost Protocol, the one where he's on the Dubai Tower. He literally misses the jump, and you watch it in the film where he barely like catches the edge, and that is real because he almost didn't make it. Which is one of the
Yes,
reasons
but
why
he wouldn't have
I like
died.
it
He
so much.
just broke his leg. That's what happened.
But if he would have actually fallen off of the tower, I
He was
don't think there was
attached to
anything.
wires.
I don't think it was attached to wires.
He was. You can watch the background video. He's
Okay,
attached to wires.
it was attached to wires. I would be
Yep.
curious about watching more of that and see if he was attached to something for this plane stunt too.
Oh,
Maybe
he
it was.
was. He was absolutely attached in. Yeah, no, like,
Okay.
that's all it takes. So there's the interview with Matt Damon where he's talking about Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise is talking about Mission Impossible 3, 4, I don't know, the one where he's running on the walls on the outside of the windows. And Tom Cruise is like, I've had this idea for a long time. I tell my safety guy this is what I want to do. He says it's not possible, so I get a new safety guy. Right? I just think it, for an actor or producer of the level to create the, like, you have to be able to finance the stunt, obviously, but it just takes an actor going from the mentality of can I do this to how do I do this relatively safely. And I do think that there are a number of actors who would take those chances.
I get would take those chances, but there's a different story when you have even Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's a decent sized actor. He's not Tom Cruise, but he's a decent sized actor. There's a difference when Henry Cavill says, "I'm firing this guy, make it happen," versus Tom Cruise saying, "I'm firing this guy, make it happen." Those are different weights. There's different
Yeah,
weights behind
because
those
Tom
people.
Cruise is a financial impact on his own movies. Henry Cavill's not, at least not as far as I'm aware, right? Like I said, you have to have the financial backing of basically producing your own
But
movie.
if Tom Cruise is the last movie star like he's known as, then will anybody else be able to do that because your name doesn't sell tickets anymore for anybody except for very, very select few. Very
Like
select few.
like I've said before, I believe in cyclical. So we're gonna go through a phase where Tom Cruise is the last true movie star because he's the last true person with name recognition and fame like that. And then we're gonna go into this hyper variety of anybody can be anything kind of fandom. And everybody has their own little cult, but there's no true quote unquote movie stars. And then I think it's just going to swing back where you have talents that come shining through that regain that kind of popularity and we go back to name recognition and movie stardom. That's just what I think.
Okay.
Just
We'll
cyclical.
see.
But
I don't know.
all right,
Anyway.
so I got into a conversation with our wonderful artist, Lauren, about this conversation was just, we had it last week after we stopped recording of do you think we're actually doing better? What things could we be doing to improve things? XYZ, whatever. So we were playing Star Citizen, and I just asked, I was like, hey, do you think we're actually doing better than we used to? Good news, she says yes.
Okay, cool.
We're doing better, right?
That's great.
And then she called out the Spider-Man episode as one of her favorites because
Sweet.
she's seen the stuff. She kind of knows what we're talking about. She feels more part of the community. And so I just asked, I was like, so what do you think? Who is right? And so as she was saying these things, I took them as direct quotes and let her know that I would be quoting this. In talking about the way Electro looks in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, he looks like jelly.
So I have a question about this because I actually saw this earlier this week, and like, if you look up jellyfish art has a lot of electricity behind it. Yes, they don't produce electricity, but it's very much connected.
It's not jellyfish. Jelly, as in jam.
Like jam. You don't think I could see jellyfish and I would be totally fine with that. Because the whole electricity aspect, I'd be cool with that.
She agreed that it looks stupid. And she didn't like it. she then said, Josh is right. He does throw a tantrum because, as she put it, he wants attention in a specific way at a specific time and doesn't like that, so he tries to burn the city down,
Okay.
which is a tantrum. She did also go on to say the lizard is a better villain.
Bull, Lord. Bull.
But, quote, I do like the second one better because I was shocked that they actually killed Emma Stone. I didn't think they'd cross that line in the movie, even though I knew it happened in the comments, end quote. So, she agrees with me on all of the reasons on why it sucks. She just likes it anyway, and I am okay with that.
Okay. Okay. I think if it was a jellyfish thing, I would be more cool with the jelly, but you are an artist, so you have some weight to that, Lauren, unfortunately, even though I like the way it looks. He throws a tantrum. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna throw a tantrum. Just kidding. And then the lizard is a better villain. Bull crap. Lizard
He
sucks.
is. Lizard has
No.
an actual motivation, and it's not just throwing a tantrum. Plain and simple. End of story. That's how it is. And you can just like the second one for whatever reason, and I can accept that. But to throw out these claims that he was actually a good villain and that he had good writing is just insane. That's insanity.
Nah.
But all right.
Did you ask her what she would rate the second one? I'm curious.
I probably did something along those lines. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
At the end of the day, she thinks the second one was more entertaining, right? And like I said, the quote of them killing Emma Stone's character, like I can still remember for me personally when I walked out of the theater, not the theater because I didn't go to the theater to see it, but when I watched it for the first time,
Yeah.
I was shocked that it happened the way it happened. Like, I thought that they were going to cut to black and roll credits before answering the question, did she die? Because I thought that this is such a crappy movie, that's the only way they're going to get greenlit for a third is because fans uproar and want to know the answer to that question. But they showed it, and I agree with her. That was very shocking. I did not know that had happened in the comics, and was shocked that they pulled the trigger and did that on screen. I think that's a totally valid thing, even if I had known that
And how
they
they
would
did
show
it
that.
so viscerally.
Yeah, like you said, that head crack, absolutely, you feel it in your own bones almost. Like, it is so... Yeah. Like that's a big impactful moment, and like we talked about when we were talking about the show originally, like I give the show a ton of credit for that part.
Yeah.
Just the rest of the movie that's not very good. But all right, with that, let's go ahead and hit your first real topic today. What do you have for us?
Yellowstone season 1. So, I've got quite a few friends that absolutely love this show. You recommended it to me directly. And I think this is a pretty good show, but I don't understand why people love this show. I watched the first season, and I was like, I can get behind shows where you don't like all the characters. Breaking Bad, you don't like all the characters, and I love that show. I know we've disagreed about that show. I love that show. All of the characters are dark. They have problems. Like, nobody is fully, like, you're just going for them. And this show tries to do that kind of thing. But there's not enough good about a lot of these people for you to even kind of root for them. So you're just kind of left like, okay, if you died, I wouldn't care, like, at all. They have the kid that I feel like is trying to be the grounding point for the show. But I'm going to do it to Breaking Bad because Breaking Bad is the one I like the best. But Breaking Bad, you also have a son. And you're trying to connect to that son, and you have some empathy for him. He's not involved in this. He's not part of this world. He's separate from the world. He's got the younger aspect to him. But in this one, the kid is not a good enough actor to carry that much weight of the rest of the series. So you're kind of left like, I want to like you more than I do, but I don't. Um, I'll go through the negative things first. The sister, who is honestly a compelling character on paper, is so she's so sporadic that you're like, would you really be able to be the boss babe bitch girl that you're trying to be? Like, could you actually keep doing this in the long run? And I think she's so much of an alcoholic and she has so many different problems that she couldn't. And if she was a little bit younger, maybe I could still buy this, but she's been doing this for years. And I don't see her still being able to hold on to that. Um, you have the other son who goes and lives with the Indian people, and I can kind of understand why he does that because he meets his wife and she wants to be there with him. But this place is hell, and he hates his dad, and he doesn't want to be around his dad. So I'm just like, dude, leave. Go somewhere else. There are other Indian reservations. There are other people that need your help. Um, and I don't really understand that for the character. My favorite character in the show, actually, is the lawyer son because I understand his motivations. I understand what he's trying to do. I like the lawyer son. I like the father main character pretty well. I don't completely understand him, but I feel like I'm unfolding and trying to understand him as I'm watching the show, and it makes it kind of work. Like one of my favorite parts of the show is where you've got all these tourists who are really really close to the buffalo or the bear, and he's like, "This is my land. You see that? That's my land. That's my land. Get out!" And then he just starts shooting up into the air. I love that. It was a good part of his character. It made sense with the character. It was really well done. Um, you've got the Indian guy who is the rich Indian guy, and he owns some casinos, but his goal in life is to like buy a bunch of land and leave it barren. Like that's his goal because the land was stolen or whatever. And maybe that's just a me thing where I'm like, I don't understand your motivation. Your people are poor. Like we've seen your people starving and sad and uneducated and without anything, but your goal is to buy a bunch of land and leave it destitute so your people can still be hungry. And I think we're supposed to be rooting for this guy in some way, but I for me to root for you, I have to see you actually serving your people, and you're not serving your people. You're just leaving them destitute. And so I tried to I don't really like the whole idea of the reservations in general, and I think there's a lot of problems in history with that. But I tried to separate myself from that aspect and just say, do I believe you are a leader worth following? And I don't. And for me to buy into that side of the entire equation of the show, I have to buy that he is somebody that's worth following, along with our main character, the father, being somebody worth following, regardless of their negative aspects. Now, with Breaking Bad, I believe that our Bryan Cranston, our main character, is worth following. He has a lot of good traits and a lot of bad traits that buy me in. He wants to take care of his family, but he also has this aggressive, arrogant tendencies, and like it makes me want to be a part of the show. This doesn't have that as much, and it's compelling enough that I'll watch a season 2, but I don't understand the love of this show because I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it deserves the amount of praise that this show gets. I don't.
I think that it's all because we haven't had a really good mob boss shootout thing in a very long time.
Maybe that's it. People also seem to really love uh really one be missing like that country aspect, like a western type story, which we haven't gotten that much either. And there's a lot of people that really either love the idea of that country lifestyle or they have been part of the country lifestyle and actually love the horses and the training and all of that stuff. Which the training in the show is fairly well done. Honestly, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but I honestly think it's a mob boss show. It's not really a western. And like we got the penguin, but that really wasn't like a Godfather-esque kind of thing. It was
Yeah.
kind of more like a villain's Batman villains kind of thing with mob in it, whereas this one's just straight up it's a mob boss fight off, and
Yeah, you have two gangs that are fighting against each other
yeah,
for control of land. That's
yeah,
really what it is.
and like
Kind
other
of
than The
three.
Godfather, I can't even really name anything else like that, and so when you don't, if that's your niche, right, that's your thing that you're into, and you don't really get very much of it. You get The Godfather, you get The Penguin, you get this, and this is made very well with very talented actors. It fills that void, and I think it kind of gets a little bit more praise than probably what it's worth, what it
Okay.
actually is. That's my prediction. That's what I think. I watched, I want to say like 3/4 of season one,
Okay.
and then stopped watching because it's not my kind of show.
Fair enough.
I agree with you. There's nobody worth rooting for. Nobody really has good qualities. Everybody kind of sucks. I feel like they're trying to paint um, the Yellowstone people as good people with bad motives, and the reservation people as bad people with good motives. But, like you said, they're just trying to leave the land destitute, or what I thought it was, preserving the land. It just doesn't, like, neither side really makes complete sense. And like I did kind of like the son character, but the more they drilled in the Romeo and Juliet of it, I got sick of it very quickly. And like that character who I feel like was supposed to be the grounding element got demoted down to, you're just Romeo. And it's like, come on. And like his son is cool, but like he's so little, he doesn't really have anything to do with anything. He's just kind of there a lot. But yeah, so I decided to stop watching this. I'm not going to watch this show anymore. I recommended it because I didn't do know you like The Godfather, and
I do. I like Goodfellas. I like The Godfather. I like a lot of stuff like this, but if it wasn't as universally loved as it is, I would probably not watch more, to be honest. But I'm gonna try season two because so many people that I know personally love this show, and I don't get it. And that's not to say like there isn't good stuff. The acting is pretty solid. The line delivery is well done. The writing can be good. It's just not fully fleshed out, is probably how I would say it. Um, and they did research on what it would feel like, in my opinion, to actually be on a ranch and to run a ranch fairly well. But it's missing some of the round edges that really need to be there.
that's fair. That's totally fair. Like I said, I stopped watching it. I wouldn't blame you for not watching it anymore either. I think the setup is really solid. So those
Yeah.
first couple of episodes are very interesting, and you're like, okay, I'm excited to see where this thing goes. I just feel like as it develops, it doesn't do super great. The last thing I remember happening is they're fighting over the water from the river, so the Yellowstone people blow up the mountain to create a new river path, and I was like, I got very frustrated with law enforcement saying like, well, there's no way we could prove it was the Yellowstone people, sorry. And I'm like, really? Because motive means an opportunity. They have the motive, they want the water. They have the means, they're rich. And they had the opportunity because conveniently all the leaders were gathered around at the same place. And they were just like, sorry, Indian people, there's nothing we can do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have got to be kidding me. That's the most recent thing that I remember having watched. Not sure where that actually was in the show, but yeah, like you said, it's just not super fleshed out. But I do think all the actors do a really good job. I think the soundtrack is pretty solid. I think
I agree with that.
that the idea in itself is not necessarily a bad one.
And the
But
cinematography is gorgeous. Like it is
yeah,
beautiful. It's a beautiful show.
yeah, they do a really good job of making the gangs feel like gangs. You know, with the Yellowstone branding their own people and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Like it, some of the stuff is very, very well done. It's just not my thing, so I stopped watching. But
fair enough. Fair enough.
what would you rate season 1 on a scale of 1 to 10?
6.5 because I'm not like upset that I watched it, but would I watch it again unless I grow to love these characters significantly more later through the show? No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I would probably have rated it about the same. So, with that, we're gonna get started on my topics. Star Citizen. I have been playing this game a lot recently. This game is just simply amazing. So, in the terms of the way this game is looked at, right? People say it's not playable. It's still an alpha. Blah blah blah. Let me tell you 3 different things that happened in the same week in this game. So we're all on the same patch. We all have the same ability. I sent you this video. The thing that really sold me on Star Citizen originally was a video of people breaking out of prison.
Yeah,
You liked the video. You thought it was awesome.
it was.
I
Super
did
cool.
too. Very cool. One of the game's most flushed out features is mining. And in the game, there's a certain mineral called janelite. Janelite is super rare, but is super money making. It's worth a ton of money. The prison is built on top of a mine of janelite, something that actually makes a ton of sense. The people who run the prison, they're going to make all the money from the janelite. People who go to prison can mine janelite in exchange for shortened sentences. Makes sense.
Cool thing.
Yeah.
Nice world building.
In this video, a group of people get together and break into prison, kill the prisoners, and start mining the janelite for themselves. The fact that you can even do this is amazing. It's so cool that there's a working prison system that you can break in and out of it, right? Like if you want to go all Alcatraz, you can. You can break out of prison, and in this case, if you want to make a crap ton of money mining the most valuable resource in the game because you know it's there, because it's under a prison, you break into a freaking prison and you mine it and steal the janelite, break back out of prison. They fly off, they clear their crime stats for killing all of the prisoners. Like, that in itself is a cool game.
That is cool. If that was just a game, like you had a 10-hour game and that was your game, that would be a cool game.
Yeah, absolutely. The same week, I had somebody who I play Star Citizen with. He likes to do the hauling missions, load up cargo onto a ship, take it to point B, unload it. It's a very chill aspect of the game. This person went into a contested area, so a place where players can kill each other, to deliver some cargo, and he got attacked by a ship. So he and another stranger in another cargo ship go rushing into their ships to try and defend themselves. Take off when so there's currently 3 players involved. A 4th player shows up, kills the people that was attacking them for no reason, and then leaves in this big capital ship that has a giant laser to shoot. that in itself is still a very cool kind of gaming experience that you could have. And the
Yeah,
fact that these players can interact with each other in that way, absolutely astounding,
very cool.
right? And then on my end, I've started streaming again, just because figured why not. I got my first actual viewer who also played Star Citizen and was like, hey, do you mind if I join you? We're now Discord friends. We go and do bounty hunting missions together. We've done it a couple of times now.
That's super
Like,
cool.
the community of this game is so cool. What you can do in this game is so cool. I like people say this game is unplayable and doesn't have full features. Yes, it doesn't have full features, but that's just because they're trying to make this such cool experience, one of one game. They're doing a lot. They still have more to go. I absolutely love that all of this kind of stuff can happen in this game.
Very cool.
And basically all at the same time. And no loading screens for anybody. It's amazing.
That is cool. More videos that I watch, the cooler I think it is, and the more I want to figure out why my pretty solid computer,
Your way
can't
above
seem to
average
play it.
computer.
my way above average computer, struggles with this game so hard.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's awesome. I love this game. I'm going to play more of it today. It's great. This is very quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite games. It's so good.
That's awesome, man. That makes me happy.
All right. With that, we're going to hit our shared topic. Star Wars Underworlds, Tales of the Underworld, whatever it's called. Basically, season 3 in the Tales of series. Conlon, why don't you go ahead and tell us your thoughts first?
Okay, so the first character that we're focused on is Asajj Ventress, who is one of my favorite characters in the Clone Wars stuff. Very cool character, very well done. This, they pick up after a book where she dies, and I had to go look online to figure out when did she die, when did any of this happen. I hate when stuff picks up off of something else, whether it's a different show or a different book that you might not have read. Like, if it's part of the series, have it be part of the series so you know what's going on. Along with that, the story of Asajj Ventress that they decided to show, I didn't think was very compelling or very well done. It felt like the crappier episodes of Clone Wars. I just didn't really like it very much. I didn't think it was very good. The second part is with Cad Bane, and he is also a fantastic character, and this half I thought was much better. The connections that he's had with previous people, the obsession that he has was extremely well done. The revenge plot line worked with him really well. It was very compelling. The darkness that he feels, the betrayal that he feels, all of it was well done and actually built the character that we've already spent so much time with. And I thought that was really, really cool. Very worth my time. I liked it about as much as I liked the Dooku stuff in season 1, which is up there. I thought it was really good. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I really liked it. The Asajj stuff was terrible. What did you think?
I disagree with you with the reasons, but not the conclusion of your Asajj stuff.
Okay.
It feels very incomplete, and it feels like not Asajj. Right? The last time we saw Asajj in the Clone Wars is when she was with Ahsoka,
Yeah.
escaping, right?
Yeah.
She's become a bounty hunter. She's still selfish. She's not this good person. They
Yeah.
introduce her to this Jedi character, Jedi Kid. And instead of it being what I think could have been a lot better, where he's this pesky little annoyance character that's a little bit lovable, so she kind of lets him join. She's just like, yeah, this is cool. Okay, yeah, we'll do this thing. Okay, yeah, we'll do this thing. And it's like, okay, so there's clearly a lot of character development that happened in between Clone Wars and this version of Asajj.
Yep.
And I don't really buy it.
Me either.
I don't know what happened. You said it was built off something.
Off of a book.
Okay, if there's some book, I don't know what happened in
Yeah.
that book. But, like, stuff has clearly happened and she's changed. I was not expecting her to be the kind of character she was, and I don't really buy it. I did like the detail of her having Ahsoka's yellow lightsaber. That was a nice little Easter egg that you saw. And then her big motivation is try and find the passageway, or whatever they call it, of the surviving Jedi. They
Yep.
get to the end. She's finally found the starting point, and she's just like, "No, I'm good." And that's how her story ends. And so it's like, it wasn't really well thought out to begin with, and then you just like walk away from your main goal. That's not compelling, so it doesn't feel like a complete story. It doesn't feel whole. It doesn't feel.
I completely agree.
It just fumbles
Feels like
its
you
way through the
wasted
entire
your
thing.
time.
Yeah. As for the Cad Bane stuff, I did not like it at all.
Really, I really
Yeah.
liked the Cad Bane. That's surprising.
I've never really liked Cad Bane as a character.
Okay.
Like, insert his episodes. Most of them are filler episodes. People love him, and I just have never really fully understood the love for his character, because
He's just a really cool bounty hunter. Is there that much to him? No, which is part of the reason why I like this, because we get a character that's just cool. Like, he is just a cool character, and we actually get more.
But I
about
didn't
him.
think he was cool until the trials with Obi-Wan. That's when I thought he was cool, and that was the only time I thought he was cool.
Okay.
Every other time he shows up in the series, I'm like, basically just skip this episode because it doesn't matter. Like when he breaks into the Jedi Temple, ugh. When he does all of this stuff, like he's in the show, he's a very regular thing, and
Guest
he's such a
star.
big fan favorite. My mentality to him is like, I genuinely do not care about this character one way or the other. I don't think he's making a compelling or interesting villain, and he's giving me no reason to root for him as a hero. I don't get it. But if you go to Comic-Con, there's going to be 50 people dressed up as Cad Bane because they love him, and I genuinely just like, he's a basic
don't get
bounty hunter. That is his character. Basic bounty hunter. That's it. And like, there's what, 4 episodes with him? 3 episodes? I don't remember.
3, I think. I think it's 3.
3 episodes. Half of it is like an utter snooze fest to me.
Real man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like, the second half of it, it does get a lot more interesting and a lot better. But calling it the quality level of Tales of the Jedi, any of the Tales of the Jedi episodes, is just like, what are you talking about?
I genuinely thought it had like some similar story beats to the Dooku one. I was pretty similar to Dooku level. Was it as good as the Ahsoka stuff? No. But yeah,
For
I liked
a lot
it about
of people,
that
the
much.
Dooku stuff is the best part. And for me, the Dooku stuff is the best part. I think the Dooku stuff is way better than the Ahsoka stuff.
Okay.
The Dooku stuff actually adds to the character.
It does.
The
In my
Ahsoka
opinion,
stuff
so does this.
is like a lot of filler and a lot of and then you get some good stuff, right? Like the Ahsoka finale to the Ahsoka part of Tales of the Jedi is the best part of Tales of the Jedi.
Yes, it is. It's
It's
awesome.
so awesome. But there's like an entire episode where she's like a farmer. It's like, okay, no, I would rather you have cut the farmer stuff, showed you getting the Inquisitor's lightsaber, and then going through the process of bleeding it to create your lightsabers. That's what I would have loved to have seen. I didn't get that. Dooku took all of this like stuff that you kind of like had to know if you were a Star Wars fan, and put it into this sweet, compact, perfectly executed little package,
and told you a lot
and
of story
told
and
you
gave
a
you
lot of stuff.
of lore.
And it's like, okay,
lot.
I get it. I understand why Dooku doesn't have yellow eyes, and I understand why he's not a full-on Sith guy, and I understand why he didn't sell. And it was like,
I get it.
in an hour, you gave us what would be like 3 movies worth of content, and I absolutely loved it. So that's why Dooku in
That's
general
fair.
for me is the best part. But
That's probably a little overblown what I was saying. Honestly.
like the Cad Bane stuff, this is where I would rank it, right? You've got Dooku, Ahsoka, Cad Bane, Tales of the Sith stuff, and Asajj at the bottom. Right? That's kind of how I would rank them in order.
Okay.
But like, to say it's on that level, it's been a long time since I've seen Star Wars content on that level.
That's probably a little high, but I liked it. It was up there for me. I really liked it.
All right. So how would you rank the Tales stuff?
I am actually looking up Tales of the Sith right now, because I remember. Let me look it up quick. One second. I would probably do Dooku, then Cad Bane, then Ahsoka, then Tales of the Sith, because I would rewatch all of those, and then Asajj way lower, because I will never watch that one again.
Okay. For me, the big gap is between Ahsoka and Cad Bane.
Okay.
And then there's another big gap because I would not rewatch Tales of the Sith.
You wouldn't?
No, I'm okay that I watched it the one time, but I am not eager to rewatch that. Tales of the Jedi, rewatch for sure. Basically, the rest of it, How would you rate this season on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would break it up into 2 parts, and the Asajj stuff, I genuinely is like a 2. I didn't like it very much at all. And then the Cad Bane stuff, 8.5.
Okay. That's fair.
Right around that. What about you?
I'm a little higher on the Asajj stuff. I would give it a 4 out of 10. Because, like, while a lot of it didn't make sense and it didn't feel complete, there was nothing about it that I felt like broke Star Wars lore or very irritating. It's just, it was kind of boring and didn't really make a lot of sense.
I was irritated with the character. I was irritated with wasting my time with the story. I was irritated that you made me like the character a little bit less by having watched this. I was irritated that my ending to this character is now this ending instead of an ending I actually liked. I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I also never really loved Asajj.
Okay.
Like, I was very interested in Asajj, but it wasn't like I'm rooting for her or I feel pity for her or any of this stuff. Like, there's a sequence where they're like, this is where you're supposed to feel empathetic to her situation. And I sit there and I go, no, I don't. She's still a messed up individual. She's psychotic. That I don't feel empathy towards that. But, yeah, so just a little higher Still don't like it, but I would give it a 4 because a 2 is like absolute disdain to me. I didn't feel that. And then lower on the Cad Bane stuff is I'd put it at like a 7 out of 10 because it's
Okay.
not something I'd be eager to rewatch.
I would, yeah, I will watch that again. What would you rate the Dooku?
9 out of 10.
Nine?
9.5
Okay.
out of 10.
9.5. What about Ahsoka?
8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
those are both really, really great pieces. And the only reason Ahsoka is not a 9 is because of the farmer episode
Former
that I'm
episode.
like, come on, like, this isn't building her character. This is trying to build the characters that are around her, that, by the way, are dead at the end. So, like,
Who cares?
who cares? Like, I didn't like them enough to feel really depressed and sad when they died, and, like,
You didn't have enough time.
you didn't have enough time to deal with it. So it was just like a whole filler episode. I was like, come on.
Is there two characters that you want them to do more on that we haven't seen?
I want them to get out of this era entirely.
Okay.
Right? Like they're doing so much in this era of Star Wars. And like here's where I was most irritated with the new season. There is yet another Inquisitor. Basically, there are 20 surviving Jedi, and 12 of them now are Inquisitors.
Visitors.
No.
No.
Like, let's stop doing that. I've never liked the Inquisitors. I thought that they were a stupid Disney invention when they first came out, and the only one I've ever liked is the one Ahsoka fights. Why? Because he's not an Inquisitor. He's just a guy with a cool design who shows up and then dies. And like all the other one, I don't think have good designs. I don't find them intimidating or scary. My favorite is the main
cartoonish.
one who plays like a 5'2" little girl, and you're like, really? That's your big intimidating person that's going to hunt down these Jedi? She's 5'2". That's not scary.
And what happened to that whole dying religion thing from
Yeah.
Fire?
Yeah, it's just, ugh. It's really irritating. And like, it also builds more into the lore of it, because like in the original trilogy, people treat the Force like it's unheard of magic. But the more Inquisitors you create and the more interactions you create with all these different peoples, that becomes less and less believable. And it's,
But where it's the original, you have Palpatine and Vader, and that's about it.
yeah,
It makes it a lot more believable.
absolutely. And the Jedi you do have are in hiding and are very few.
Yep.
But in this version, they're running all over the galaxy and they're hunting for people and they have lightsabers and like,
Everything.
come on, guys. So yeah, I'm just like, I've had it. Like, let's move away from the Skywalkers. I get it. Anakin was the chosen one. But like, let's tell some different stories. Let's move on. Let's get into some other stuff. Like, there's so much books and comics and content and worlds
From other
and
time periods.
like, yeah. Like, let's talk about the Mandalorians. Let's just have a series about the actual Mandalorians from Mandalore.
That'd be
I'm
awesome.
so into that. Like, let's do it. And let's have a, Old Republic storyline. And let's get into some of this really great stuff that we have access to. That Disney's just like, but it doesn't have a Skywalker in it, so it can't be good.
Yeah, and the Old Republic stuff has stuff that's older than the Old Republic that you can get into,
Yeah.
but also is very compelling.
You can get into so much stuff. There's so much lore and stuff that's touched on in Rebels and Clone Wars that tells us we know you know about it. Freaking
Use
heck.
it.
Yeah. Give me an actual Thrawn story. How about that? And let's not make him some fat loser guy. Let's make him Thrawn from the books. How about
Yes.
that?
Absolutely.
I already know who I want them to cast as Thrawn.
Who do you want them to cast as Thrawn? I think it would be awesome to have Sherlock cast as Thrawn.
Which one?
Uh, guy who plays the wizard. What is his freaking name? Doctor Strange, dude.
Okay.
I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be great.
Okay. I want them to cast Zachary Quinto.
He would be fantastic. That is a great one.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know.
Both would be way better than
ideas.
who they did.
Yeah. I mean, like, I appreciate that they wanted him because he did the voicing at voice work, but, like...
No, you don't need to do that. No.
He's not a very good actor. Keep to the voice work. Keep being a voice actor. You do a really good job at that. Let's have a real good Thrawn. Let's tell the Thrawn before Thrawn came to the Empire. That's what I want to see. The books are great. It's such a good story.
They're great.
I know that contradicts things because I just said get out of this era, and that is that era. But, like, it's separate. So let's do that. That's what I want.
That would be awesome. And I like your pick. That's a good pick.
Anyway. All right. With that, we're going to end this episode. Thank you, everybody, for watching and or listening. Love getting those comments. Let us know if you've listened to more than one of our episodes. Are we getting better? Or what could we do to be better? We'd love to hear those suggestions. Or let us know what you think. Is Yellowstone good? Is Tales of the Underworld worth watching? I say no. Colin says the second half, yes. Absolutely. Without a doubt. It's amazing. And I don't see it that way. Let us know. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.